Hello everyone, and welcome to Banehorse Part 2. So in this portion of the video, I will continue to work on sculpting the body of the horse, as well as beginning the body and arms of the human torso part. So the little platform you see at the bottom is to keep the horse's feet level as I begin to put this pony in its pose. Now if you kept the legs and body separate, you could pose them just by selecting the tool and moving the selected tool, but there are many ways to do similar things when modeling, and I decided to do this my way. So this is my favorite part when I get to start posing this bad boy and making it more asymmetrical. Now of course I won't be able to use the mirror tool, but that's just how it is. For people who don't know, this is a program called Zbrush. It's a 3D modeling program where you can make highly detailed models for games, animations, or just for aesthetics like I'm doing right now. With this program, you can sculpt as much detail as you want onto a model, and if you need to use that model for a game or animation, you can make a low-poly version of the model and export your color maps, displacement maps, UV maps, and a bunch of other stuff. Another little tidbit of knowledge for all you interested in 3D animation is that you can make your blend shapes in this program as well. For you unknowing heathens of how 3D animations work, blend shapes are various poses of your character's face with different facial expressions. So if you wanted to have your character smile in a movie, you would have to make a separate face posed smiling. So you would have your neutral face pose, then you would have to duplicate that off, pose it as a smiling face. After you make a crap ton of different faces like smiling, frowning, left cheek up, right cheek up, all your eye blinks and everything, you feed all of these faces into the main neutral posed head, where you can then add controllers to activate various blend shapes to move. I probably explained it in a very confusing way, but that's as layman's as I can get it. But I digress. So for any of you who are looking to get into sculpting, before getting into expensive programs, what I would suggest is to go to Michael's or whatever craft store you guys prefer, and pick up yourself some clay called Super Sculpey. So this is a polymer-based clay. You can sculpt, whatever you feel like making with it. And the cool thing about it is that if you put it in the oven, you can bake it so that it gets hard, and you know what? I'm just gonna retract that statement. Anyway, just use the clay to start making little objects of whatever you like. This can start to give you an idea of thinking in a 3D space, which helps translate over into a 3D program such as Zbrush. This is how I started when I was in freshman college. I was required to take a traditional sculpting class, which I must say was one of my favorite classes while I was in college. It was really fun to build something physical with your hands, and I continue to do it now and again. Here's a picture of my last traditional sculpture. I was a senior in college when I created this, and that was probably my last big traditional sculpture that I've made. One thing that really does translate whether you're doing traditional or virtual sculpting is anatomy. Make sure to study the anatomy of males and females if you're creating cartoons, semi-realistic people, and obviously realistic humans. Another good thing to look at is exaggerated muscle. For this project, I looked at the Arnold as reference from his bodybuilding days, and also Bane from the Arkham games. And I know what you're thinking.
Banehorse, you should be an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator.
And don't worry, I will be once I fill in for him in Expendables 11, Berets of Fury. I didn't want to make him as exaggerated as the Arkham games, but I gotta say, I really love the game and all its characters, especially Scarecrow. Holy shit, he gave me nightmares. I mean, just look at the face! Good lord! So as you guys can see here, I continue working on the arms, and I split these into 4 separate tools: the shoulder area, the bicep tricep, the forearm, and the hand. Again, I like to sculpt this way because I feel it gives me more control over the character. Some more reference I used for the arms was a Hulk action figure. I like to use these because instead of having a 2D picture to reference from, you have a 3D object that you can look at from any direction. Plus the person that sculpted this figure did their research of anatomy, so it's there for you to use. So I suppose I'll talk about some of my favorite brushes that I use while I'm sculpting. In Zbrush, there are tons of different options when it comes to picking brushes. I use a bunch of them for different things. Each one can help you accomplish a different task. But the main ones I always like to use are the Move brush, the Clay Buildup, the Damien Standard, and the H Polish. So with the Move brush, it isolates areas of your model so you can't adjust them, similar to the masking tool. Nah, I'm just f***ing with you. Obviously, it pushes and pulls portions of the model and is one of the main brushes I use from the beginning to the end of my sculpts. The second brush I use is clay buildup. This tool adds virtual clay to your model wherever you are drawing using alphas. Alphas are black and white images that dictate what your brush shape looks like. For example, with the clay buildup brush, the alpha is a square, the white part being what the brush looks like. But you can also make your own customized alphas to make the brush shape whatever you feel like. Now, the clay buildup is one of many clay tools, each one doing a slightly different task, but you can also make your own customized alpha to make the brush shape whatever you feel like. Next is the Damien Standard brush. With this one, it can create creases, seams, or cracks. I use this for sculpting the little defining areas in muscle, as well as doing scribe work. But recently, I have been moving more towards another brush called the Orb Crack brush, which does pretty much the same thing as the Damien Standard, but it's just a little bit cleaner. The last brush I will talk about in this episode is the H Polish. This brush is excellent for defining planes and creating flat surfaces. I do use this in organic models, but it normally shines when using it for hard surface sculptures such as tanks, mechs, or rocky surfaces. So for the last few minutes, you've seen me working on the hands of Banehorse. The hands of a character are one of my biggest pet peeves just because of how specific the anatomy is. So for this, I isolate the hand from the rest of the model, and I use Z-spheres to create independent tools for the fingers and the thumb. I wanted the hand to seem like it was squeezing firmly into a fist, so I studied the skin on my own hand. This is very helpful because you can see how the skin is positioned over the underlying muscle and bone. This allows you to find the little details you might not think about if you're sculpting the hand just from how you remember it. It might sound silly that I keep talking about using reference and different objects to help you sculpt, but you would be surprised at how many people I've met or known who don't use reference to help them. Hell, even when I first started drawing and sculpting, I never used reference, and if you saw any of those drawings, you'd probably be appalled. Another good idea if you're looking to get into sculpting or drawing is to do either figure drawing classes or go to this figure drawing website. The cool thing about this website is it will ask you how many minutes you want each pose to stay on screen for. This is similar to figure drawing classes because normally at the beginning of a class you will start with 30-second gesture drawings. These are not meant to be detailed drawings, they are simply for getting the basic shape and feeling of the pose on paper. After a few of these to warm up, you move to minute drawings and then 5-minute drawings, and you can keep going to however long you want. Now obviously when the time goes up, the detail of your drawing or sculpture should also go up with it. I myself have never really been good at figure drawings, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So once I'm happy with the finger placement, I dynamesh it all together, which makes the hand one solid piece. This is not the way you would create something for an animation or game, but if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments. So I place the finished hand on the arm and position it into place, making sure that the proportions of the hand to the arm are to my liking. So once I'm happy with this, I then take these pieces and position them onto the body, making sure they are to proportion as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, so check me out over there. Now, one final announcement is that I'm taking requests of what you guys want to see sculpted. This can be anything from a celebrity, a video game character, a weapon, vehicle, or something you guys have created and want to see sculpted. So leave your comments down below of what you guys want to see, and remember to check in on Thursday for this week's YouTuber Sculpt. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon, and remember to keep creating.
Goodbye.